Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on PSC MSM Agent E-Summit 2020 Live. Our attendees are on the process of joining the webinar. Hope all of you are safe and healthy from wherever you're attending this webinar. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen from all parts of the world. Thank you for taking your time out and being here today. I'm Jim George, and I'll be your moderator today. I am the Manager Global Marketing Office, overseeing US institutions at MSM. I'm delighted to introduce today's speaker, Jodi Rossi. Jodi is the Associate Director for International and Transfer Admissions at Paul Smith's College. Before I hand over the mic to Jodi, I have a few housekeeping items to cover about this presentation and the Zoom webinar platform. The agenda for today's webinar will be a comprehensive presentation on a resort which was turned into a college named Paul Smith's College, which would be presented by Jodi. As a reminder, we are taking questions during today's webinar. Feel free to drop in all your questions in the Q&A session present in the control panel. They will either be answered during the webinar, while the presentation is on progress, or at the end when we will have a discussion on few of your questions asked. If you experience technical difficulties at any point during our presentation, please explain your problems through the chat box on your screen, where we'll do our best to address your issue. There'll be 2 polling sessions during the webinar. We encourage your active participation during the polls. For those who are just joining us, welcome to today's webinar on PSC MSM Agent E-Summit 2020 Live. So without any further ado, let's kickstart things off by welcoming our presenter, Jodi Rossi. Jodi, over to you.
Thank you, Jim. Hello, everyone. I am so pleased to have your audience and your time. I think in this unprecedented time that we're in, that education truly does bring everyone together. And I think this is a great exhibit of that, of working together for the best of students, keeping them excited and encouraged about their college experience, all the hard work and dedication they've put in, and that they can still have the results of that and learn about interesting colleges and interesting programs. I'm really excited to talk to you about Paul Smith's College. I know you hear all the time that my college is so different, my college is special, and all colleges are. But I do think you'll walk away today learning about a college that is truly one of a kind. And we're different in a lot of ways, mostly because of our location and how that has driven our mission and our learning and how we teach at Paul Smith's College. And so today I'm going to give you a brief overview of the college. We're going to watch a lot of short videos. They're very short, but I'm hoping that they keep you more engaged, let you see more of campus and some of our professors and students in a way that I couldn't possibly represent just speaking to you for 45 minutes. We'll go over a review of our programs. We'll talk about our response to COVID-19 and some of our policy changes. At the very end, we'll talk about admissions requirements, scholarships, all that important stuff. But until then, I'm just excited to teach you about Paul Smith's College, and I hope you walk away feeling inspired. So we are a little bit different, like I've said, and I think you're going to find that a lot of the programs we offer are not going to be familiar to you, and they're not familiar to students either. And so it makes it a challenge, and it makes it exciting to introduce these types of programs to students and to schools and to agents, because these are out there for students and they're options. And we hope that you'll introduce them and get them excited about them, because what we do and what we focus on is really, really important. And the sun's coming through this morning. I'm gonna close my curtain. The types of programs we offer are really important to our world right now. And so you're going to see a picture of campus right there. And I think the first thing you're going to notice is we are not in a city. We are not in an urban area. We are the only college in the United States located inside of a state park. We are in the Adirondack State Park. It's in upstate New York. You can see in the map there. And down at the bottom of the map, you'll see New York City. And then Paul Smith's is all the way at the top. We're actually much closer to Montreal, Canada, than we are New York City. We're about 4 hours from New York City. And we're within this 6 million acre park. It is enormous. It is the largest publicly protected area in the entire United States. And our college sits right in the center of it. We're a 4-year college and we have 14,000 acres on our campus, but we only have 900 students on that 14,000 acres. The entire campus is considered a living laboratory by the state of New York. It is an UNESCO biosphere preserve. There's only a few of those around the world. So it really offers our students an opportunity to live and learn in a living laboratory, in a state protected land. It means all the science they do actually contributes to the scientific and data record for the state government and federal government. So we don't offer 200 majors. We offer very few majors, very highly focused. And what we do really, really well. You're going to see that even within, we have 5 different distinct departments. And even within things like culinary and hospitality, you're going to see very big environmental components because that's how we were founded. We were founded as a resort that catered to environmentalists and to people who appreciated the outdoors. And when we became a college, that became our main focus. And so you're going to see that we often are awarded most innovative college, best undergraduate teaching college. And as we go through here, I think you're going to get some great examples as to why. And most importantly, we have great outcomes. So 96% of our graduates have a job in their field of study or are in graduate school within 6 months of graduation. We actually graduate a lot of our students who already have job offers in hand upon graduation. So we're gonna watch a quick video, and I have a lot of these for us. Whoops.
One of the great things about this place is that we take advantage of the living laboratory of this wild surroundings that we're in, where the animals, the plants and ecosystems, the climate change, all these things are happening. So we tailor our courses to give you specific examples from right here where you can experience them yourself or actually take you out in the field to show them to you. I have a course called Paleo Ecology that's mostly for seniors. And that's basically studying long-term climate change and environmental change by going out on the frozen lakes in the winter, including this one. We drill a hole through the ice and lower a sediment sampler down to the bottom. Our work's been covered in the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and other things like that with students involved.
So the Adirondack Watershed Institute, we historically work with water resources, but we are a watershed institute, which means we also care about the land and what's happening on the land in terms of development, in terms of wildlife, and all these things together are very important for us to work with and understand. So a lot of our work has actually been very important in terms of informing policy and management of the resources in the state of New York.
So I think you see there that we have quite a focus on the environment. We have been a premier environmental science school for well over 60 years. Even our programs within business, our hospitality programs, tend to have environmental impact focus, environmental science focus. And so you're going to see that as a common thread throughout this presentation. I do want to address what's on all of our minds, and that is how our college is responding to COVID-19. And I think great things are happening because of it. I think colleges like Paul Smith's are becoming very flexible for all of our students, and especially for international students, because this really is affecting every country differently, and the impact is going to be specific for every international student depending where they're located. So we've done a lot to loosen up our policies, things like no application deadlines, no application fees, accepting unofficial transcripts until the school opens and the student can get official transcripts from their school. We have never required the SAT or ACT, so that's not new for us, but it's a good reminder. We're accepting Duolingo in place of TOEFL and IELTS. There's no deposit deadline. We have a very small $250 enrollment deposit, but there's not a deadline on that because we know it's going to take students a little bit longer to decide. We don't require a housing deposit any longer. If a student is accepted and they get their scholarship and they pay their deposit, and for some reason they can't get their visa appointment or they can't get flights into the country, we automatically defer them into the spring semester, the January term, or the following fall term. And they will keep their scholarship, everything stays the same. We stay in contact with them, make sure they feel engaged and interested and keep them encouraged about their college experience. So they'll retain that. We will accept pass-fail grades. It's not going to be a problem at all. We are still awarding credit for IB courses. So I think you see that we're just going to be very flexible. And even above and beyond this, we will work with students on a case-by-case basis, depending on what their situation is. We have a dedicated virtual resource page that we created in response to COVID-19. And this is where you can find policies. This is a lot of the videos that you're going to see today you can find there, as well as if you're working with students and want them to see the student life videos, which I don't have any of on this presentation today, but dormitories and clubs and sports and things like that. There's virtual tours, there's 360 tours, there's ways for students to chat live with current students. We're doing a lot of FaceTime live events where they can chat with housing and residence life and with coaches. This dedicated virtual page is where you'll find all of that, and we'll continue to update it as we have policy updates. So we have a poll, Jim, right?
Yes, so it's poll time now. Please take a moment to complete the poll on your screen. So we'd like to make this webinar interactive and would request all our active participants to be actively involved in these polls. So let's see what's our first question. The questions are just coming up. Yes. Yes, the polls are this. Okay, I hope all of you are able to see the polls. I think there's some technical issue. Yes, so the polls have come on top. So here's our questions. The first one is about the audio quality. So please rate us on the audio quality. How do you feel that our audio and video qualities are? This is to ensure that we are on the quality standards of whatever we are presenting. So looking forward your response on how is our video and audio. Yeah, and the other questions are after the slides. Unfortunately, the polls have just gone mismatched, so it's fine. So we'll just show the results for the audio one and then we'll get back. So most of them are doing good. They're telling that 50% of them do hear us excellently and also see us excellently. So there's a very little scope for improvement. 2% of them do tell it's a little poor. So we'll try to improve ourselves. So Jodi, over to you.
Sure. Let me click off of that. Okay, so we're going to get into our first department. So we have 5 separate departments at Paul Smith's. We're going to go through each of them individually. You'll see the programs that are offered in each one. And some of these may look familiar, like psychology and environmental studies, but some of them may look new and different to you. And you're going to see that a lot with Paul Smith's because we have very unique programs. So natural resource conservation management, sustainable communities and working landscapes, recreation adventure, psychology, parks and conservation, environmental studies, and integrative. I want to take a second to talk a little bit about how environmental studies is different than environmental science? Because that's a really common question. So environmental science you're going to find in the natural sciences department. Environmental studies is an environment and society. And this department is slightly more liberal arts based. And so there's aspects of science, there's a lot of business, there's a lot of sociology, a lot of humanities that are built into this. And so environmental studies is for that student who loves the environment, wants to be involved, but doesn't see themselves as a scientist, or struggles with the biologies and chemistries and trigonometry type classes. So maybe they want to go into environmental law, environmental policy. A lot of times they will start their own consulting companies. A lot of times these are students who are very outspoken activists. They want to work for nonprofits, something along those lines. And integrative studies, I want to take a second and talk about as well. This is basically build your own program. So this is for the student who comes to us and has a wide variety of interests, and they're really not sure what they want to do for a career. They know they love maybe environmental sciences, and they really like psychology and maybe wildlife science. And so they will work one-on-one with a faculty advisor for all 4 years. It's going to be a lot of conversation and a lot of direction from faculty to try to figure out what these students are interested in, but we will blend several majors together for them. And so a student can come to us, and if they don't feel like they fit into one of these boxes very well, then we're going to create a personalized major around them. And so that really is limitless. I would say we most commonly see something with the environment or conservation with business. And those are students who are business focused and minded. They want to own their own business. They want to own a consulting firm, something along those lines related to something they're really passionate about. And so it's a great way to put those two together. And those are pictures of our classes. And so when I said Paul Smith's is a little bit different and it's mostly based on our location, the other thing, the second thing that makes us very distinct is we are a college that is based on experiential learning. And that means experience and giving students hands-on experience is just as important, if not more important, than classroom work. So every college now has internships. So you sit in class all semester and you might do a summer internship. That's fantastic. We do that. It's required for most of our majors. However, what we do differently is we guarantee that at least 50%, so half of your class time, is spent doing the work you're learning about. And that means if you're a biology major, or a science major, like one of these students, you're in the lab, you're out in the field. If you're a business major, then you are in our neighboring town and you might be working with a business on a social media plan, marketing, a financial plan, an expansion plan, but basically you're spending half of your time in the class and half the time doing the actual work. It's so much more than just an internship. And it is really what makes our students stand out and why they get the jobs and the graduate degree offers they get. I think the easiest way to think about what we do is we teach the equivalency of a graduate school. So usually in a bachelor's program, it's all classwork. We only have one lecture hall in our entire school and we rarely use it. Our classes have about 13 to 15 students. Even our classrooms, there's a couple that are designated like regular classrooms. Otherwise, they're Google style, which means there's couches and tables and computer screens. It's collaborative. It's like real life. And it's more like a graduate school. So the students work one-on-one with faculty on research, on publishing, on presenting their work. And so when they leave, they have an actual resume, not just a college transcript. We're gonna watch another video.
One of the things that recreation students find when they come to Paul Smith's College is that we have a 6 million acre classroom. So we certainly have seated courses or portions of a class where we have to be in class and doing classroom things, but most of our courses have at least an outdoor component, and some of our courses are exclusively hands-on, outdoor-based. And in the Adirondack Park, 6 million acres is available to us, this mixture of public and private lands where we can go and plan trips and lead trips and backpack and paddle. And it's often not just for class. A lot of students love Paul Smith College because we are on a lake, we are in the middle of the state park, and you can play and work in this amazing, beautiful park.
We have a Paul Smith guide service that we started recently, and that's where rec students get to work with paying clients under the supervision of faculty and staff, but they're working as guides in the field, running day trips, expeditions. So that's just another example of the hands-on learning that they're getting.
All Paul Smith College students, regardless of your major, have opportunities for international travel. Along with a colleague, we took a bunch of students to Uganda last year, and our students were studying nature-based tourism. And so we had spent some of that semester researching Uganda, researching national parks, some human wildlife conflicts, and all of the things that go into maintaining national parks and being preserves in places like Uganda. And then we were able to go see them. And those are opportunities that all Paul Smith College students have, regardless of their program.
I'd like to mention that when she's speaking about travel abroad as well, we actually had an alumni make a large, generous donation to our school to fund international travel for students. And so we oftentimes can fund a student to take part in an international component to their education. So just because international students are traveling to the US, they're an international student. That's not necessarily the international component to their education. And so if they are doing hospitality or they are doing one of the sciences, then we have groups of students who are traveling all over the world for internships and for faculty-led course credit travel. And we really do to try to support our students financially for that. So we're going to move into the natural science department now, which is by far our #1 department. It is what we're most well known for. And it's also our most rigorous. And so these are those hard sciences. This is fisheries and wildlife science, which is going to be for that student who wants to work with animals, whether they want to work in a zoo, they want to go to veterinary school, they want to work at animal rehabilitation facilities, any number of things. We have students currently who are specializing in very specific animals. We have a student who specializes only in birds of prey, so like eagles and hawks. We have a student who specializes in penguins. We have a student who specializes in the ecology of giraffes. We have students who do nothing but work with one type of fish and look at how that fish travels through the world and is a food source. And so students really can get highly specific here, which is what happens naturally with the sciences. All of our faculty are publishing, they're leaders within their field, and students at this level get to do that research with faculty. And so if we have we have faculty who have specific topics that they're studying, and if a student wants to pursue that research, then they're going to publish with that faculty member. They're going to go and present at conferences. I mean, again, really things that you don't typically see until graduate school. And again, you're going to see some pictures here. That's classrooms. Those are classrooms from this past fall semester. And you're going to see very few are actually in a class. And so even students who come to us who are not used to being outside and used to this hands-on, they're used to lecture style and book learning. This is a beautiful introduction into what they want to do for a living. And we work closely with them to get them adjusted and used to being outside and actually doing, not just learning. We're very much active learners here. In the natural sciences, we have a relatively new major, and I'm going to spend some time talking about this, and we'll watch a short video in a second, because it is so relevant to right now. Human health and the environment. And this is really for that student who may have an interest in medicine, but doesn't want to pursue a medical path. They like the environment as well. So maybe they like toxicology. Maybe they want to work for the World Health Organization, something along those lines. We're seeing a lot of this with public health. And you're going to see a few of our majors, human health and the environment in particular, and another major called disaster response and management, that are so important and relevant to our world right now. And I think for young people in school who are feeling powerless with what's happening right now and feeling like the world is out of control and they don't have control out of it, this is a way for them to be an active participant. This is a way for them to contribute. These are the types of majors that I think this COVID-19 crisis is showing our world we need more people educated in. Because right now we're seeing a huge demand for human health and the environment, public health, disaster management response, and people who are educated in those fields. There simply are not enough. This is the COVID-19 is the first, unfortunately, of what's going to be many crises that hit our world. You can look at the wildfires in Australia this year, the flooding in India. There is not a single continent who isn't impacted by large natural and man-made disasters and scientific disasters like this, and health disasters. And we need qualified people educated in these fields. And we need to let our youth know that these are ways they can contribute and stay interested. And they're very exciting majors as well. I mean, think about going into human health and the environment right now. The classes that we're offering right now, and what the professors, the data and the real life, what's happening that they can use in those classes is astounding. And so hopefully, these are the types of things we can start getting our students going into. I think we all struggle with students who just want engineering and computer science, and we are not that school. And so we really want to introduce students to this bigger demand. There's not a single business in the United States right now, and I don't think in the world, but I know within the United States, that doesn't have environmental impact statements. So even if you're going into business, you have to have some understanding of this because it impacts everyone. So that's my spiel on why we need to get students in these fields. We're going to watch a little video from one of our professors talking about human health and the environment. This program has been developed for the past 2 years, so it's relatively new for us. Whoops.
I'm Leanne Sport, and I am the coordinator of our brand new Human Health and the Environment program. And I'm not pleased with what's going on in the world today, but I am pleased that Paul Smith is really addressing the issue of a real need for a workforce in public health. So I'm teaching a senior level course, Topics in Environmental Health. And the course is pretty much teaching itself this semester. The students are really digging into data, watching what's happening in the world in the field of infectious disease, as well as toxins and effects on humans due to climate change. I think this is an amazing career choice for students right now. Partners well with emergency preparedness and disaster management, which we have here at Paul Smith's also. So we have a unique approach to our environmental health program, Human Health and the Environment, in that we're really based in ecology, in learning about animal-human interactions. Most programs such as this come at it more from a medicine standpoint, but we come at it from an environmental standpoint, which offers a really unique perspective. So I'm anticipating that there's going to be a huge call for skilled and well-trained and ecologically minded workers in the field of public health and disaster management in the future. So please strongly consider coming here to Paul Smith's and getting ahead of the curve on that future need.
You'll see when Leanne was speaking there, she's in one of her classrooms. So that's where students are learning. Again, it's in the lab, it's doing science, it's interacting with top level scientists in their fields at the peak of their career. It really is fascinating what they're doing in our natural science department. We're going to move on to our forestry department though. And so within forestry, because we are in a managed forest, we are 14,000 acres, our campus, and all of that is managed by forestry students. And 14,000 acres is a lot. You can see our campus a little bit in my background picture here, and you don't see many buildings because they are tucked away in the trees. So there are buildings there, but our students learn to manage that forest from day one. And so within forestry, there are 4 distinct areas a student can focus in. Everything from the biological standpoint, to the business end, to operationally, and then we even have a 2-year program called Forest Technology for those who want to get out into the field and start working right away. They often pair well with surveying arboriculture, which is the study of trees, and landscape management, and so those all go really well together. But within the forestry department is where you're going to find our other highly relevant major right now, which is the disaster management and response. This again is about a program we've had about 2 years. It came in response to the World Health Organization really reaching out and asking schools to develop programs based on their criteria for how to manage disasters, natural and man-made and health-related disasters. And so Paul Smith's answered that call. There are very few schools who have been able to get this program up and going at this point. And so we're really proud of it. We're one of the few places in the US you can focus in this area and study disaster management and response. And there's a couple different areas that you can concentrate on within this program as well. So again, a short video that can do much better than me explaining it.
Can you hear that? That's the sound of preparation, dedication, and a cool head. It's believing in something bigger than yourself and knowing what it takes to get the job done. I bet you thought this was going to be something different. And it is. It's a Paul Smith's college classroom. And this is disaster management and response. Climate-based disasters are exploding across the planet. At Paul Smith's College, you can learn on-the-ground tactics for managing disaster situations, or concentrate on facts and data for a career in planning and prevention. Here, amid the beauty of the Adirondacks, in addition to earning a 4-year degree, you can receive real-world certifications, or earn an academic minor to broaden your knowledge and hit the ground running. The demand for response teams will grow, and Paul Smith's College will train you to handle the challenge, wherever it may be. You'll make the world a better place.
And that's what it really comes down to for us. I think if I can say anything about Paul Smith students in general, is they want to make the world a better place. They're really focused on the world as beyond them and their world. And so the type of students we tend to attract they're activists. They want to be involved actively with what's happening politically and environmentally with the world and want to be engaged in it. And so that's a common thread with our students. And I think the disaster management and response represents that well. And it's also a really exciting degree to study. Nothing existed like that when I went to college 20 years ago. And so I'm hopeful students will see that as well. We're going to jump into our next major department, which is business and hospitality. And so I had mentioned at the beginning that Paul Smith's College is named after Paul Smith, who started an environmental resort in the park over 100 years ago. And so that's where our business and hospitality background comes in. We have an interesting mix of programs, as you might notice. And so, there's a little bit of an explanation behind that, is that business and hospitality and tourism management, we have 10 million guests and tourists that come to this park every single year. We are adjacent to Lake Placid, which is where 2 Winter Olympics have been held. And so people come here for 5-star resorts that are beautiful for the lakes, for the hiking. Mostly they're here for the resorts and the craft beer and the beautiful scenery. And so hotel, resort, and tourism management has been one of our founding programs. Within that, you can do business management, sports management, because we have such a relationship with the Olympic Park and Olympic training facilities, and we work with a lot of Olympic athletes. And then entrepreneurship, because so many of our students, even if they're in an environmental program, are going to start their own business. Very strong business components. We talked about that a minute ago, where if you're a business student, you're actually working with businesses within the community. That's an important aspect of this. And so again, it's outside the classroom.
Not only at Paul Smith's, but just in the world of business and hospitality really go hand in hand. Here at Paul Smith's, because we started our hospitality program and we're entrenched in that long before we added entrepreneurial business or business management, I think we are able to teach business overall because we teach it from a culture of guest service.
We not only know the students, but we care about their progress. So it's something I don't think you would experience at a larger college. You're not lost in the crowd. Our faculty here is really conscientious that learning happens inside and outside of the classroom. We have a program here on campus called DECA. So it's the Business and Hospitality Club. So we host events here on campus through DECA, and then also go on site visits. So the students are constantly able to immerse themselves within the industry.
On Paul Smith, I would say that 80% of your classes are based on hands-on. I have to go out and work in my major in different departments, so I can learn directly from my major, not directly from a book.
Department is quite successful. We have a couple claims to fame. One of those is that one of our graduates, our little school with less than 1,000 students, produced the vice president of Disneyland, the CEO of Dunkin' Donuts, the general manager of Ritz-Carlton Hotels. And so I think you'll see that we have a lot of famous alumni and a very successful alumni, which offers our students the ability to do a semester at Disney if they want to do that. If they want to work for some of the most famous 4- and 5-star resorts and restaurants in the world, not just the country, but they have the opportunity to travel around the world and intern at, and even get job offers from some of these restaurants and hotels and businesses that our graduates have worked at. So we don't have a giant business school like some big schools have, but the amount of hands-on experience and the connections we have with past graduates is really what sets our students in business apart. So I want to talk a little bit about how we do interact with the bigger world. So a lot of our faculty are doing study abroad, they're doing research abroad, and the students are always included in that. One of our biggest partnerships is with the UNESCO and the UN Biosphere Preserve. And there we are a UNESCO Heritage and Biosphere Preserve, but there's also one in Italy and there's one in South Africa. And we have faculty who are very involved in those programs and get our students involved in those as well. Well, keep clicking on them and they go the next way. There you go.
The Adirondack Sustainable Parks and Communities Project started in collaboration with the Tuscan-Emilion Apennine National Park, which is also UNESCO Man and Biosphere Reserve in Italy. We've been working on the project here at Paul Smith's for 5 years, and each summer we take students abroad for 3 weeks. In recent years, the project has evolved not only from looking at tourism, but overall looking at the UN 17 Sustainable Development Goals and how that region specifically addresses them.
The park that we're working with, like the Adirondacks, is a mountainous park that has snow in the winter, has wonderful local food products. So similar to the Adirondacks, both regions are struggling to maintain their uniqueness.
It's a perfect setting for us to learn from them and us to share ideas here, especially around land use management and natural resource management as well. To me, the students are a critical part of this project. They are the core of this project. Without them, it wouldn't happen. The students are our set of eyes for that analysis. Without them, it would be, one person looking at that. It's not nearly as effective when you have a set of, 10 to 15 eyes looking at it. When we bring them abroad, we're blown away by, we've prepared them all semester, but when the solutions they come up with over there is something that we never even thought of.
The big challenge is economic. How do you transform local communities into truly vital places for multiple generations into the future?
I think the idea that you're facing global issues helps you develop confidence, in your own communities, and understanding that, the world is bigger than just Paul Smith College campus, and also your own, communities.
And Paul Smith College is a leader already in interacting with the international community on sustainable development and rural resilience. Okay, so what we're facing here in the Adirondacks is not unique. What they're facing in protected landscapes in Italy and in Europe and in South America, Central America, there are similar challenges. And why not learn from each other?
This past summer, the Kelly Ciarallo, the professor you saw speaking there, she works closely with UNESCO, and she took a group of 8 students to Italy to work on the Biosphere Preserve. And it was the first time that UNESCO collaborated between 3 different biospheres. So there was the US, Italy, and South Africa. And so our students, our 8 students, were the only ones in the world who took part in that collaboration. And it actually led to one of them getting an internship offer to do research in South Africa the following summer. And so it's really unique opportunities that our faculty are involved in. And because we're small and our classes are small and our faculty only have 15 to 20 students that they're working with in a class, that they can offer these types of opportunities for students. And so Kelly does a really outstanding job getting our students involved globally. We're going to move on to culinary management. Because we were a resort, let's go back to that for a second. We developed, Paul Smith realized at a resort you have to have good food. So we developed a culinary program. So again, strange mix of programs here, right? We have business, we have environmentalism, we have hospitality, forestry, and culinary. And those are those 5 main departments that are really very interesting. Within culinary, there's several different types of majors that you can choose from. And again, we have graduated students who own some of the most famous restaurants in the world. And our students get hired there, they intern there. We have a working restaurant on campus that people, tourists from all over the region come to daily. And so students actually get to learn how to run their own high-end restaurant. They do all the cooking, serving, meal planning for it. We have our own bakery that is completely student-run as well. Again, very entrepreneurial. Most of our culinary students want to open their own restaurant or bakery and are quite successful in doing so.
Here we have something pretty unique. The unique things we have for both programs, culinary and baking, are the restaurant experience. In other words, here we have a restaurant called the Genzi Training Center, and students will be able to work for several weeks to experience all the different stations and also work in the front. The Genzi proposed a farm-to-table menu. In other words, the students are able to go in different farms to buy products. That's for the culinary. Now for the bakers, we have the bakery. In the bakery, we have exactly the same thing. The class will prepare all the goods for the bakery, and also you will be exposed to the customer and to the clients.
My colleagues have run their own businesses, they've had their own restaurants, had their own bakeries. Besides having that educational background, they've had their education and then they go out into the real world. So they're able to give that experience back to the students.
When you're in a tourist area like we are in, where all the towns surrounding us are heavily tourism based, and we have seasons. We have a summer tourist season and a winter tourist season because of our mountain skiing and cross-country skiing. It really gives our students a lot of opportunities to work in very high-end restaurants and a lot of different varieties of restaurants as well. So they could stay local through the summer and in 3 to 4 different summers work for entirely different types of restaurants and resorts. They don't have to stay local. We will help them find internships anywhere in the country or around the world as well. And so we're going to support that too. But just because of our location, we're in a really beautiful location for them to have access to some of the best food that you're ever going to find in the middle of the mountains. And so we're done talking about the academic departments. Again, it's the natural sciences, it's environment, forestry, culinary, hospitality, and business. And that's it. Within that are 27 majors that we offer. And so we're going to talk a little bit more, I've mentioned this a lot, about living here, what it's like to live in a park. Clearly, if you're studying and anything related to the environment, it's clear why this would be a good place to live. And again, if you're studying business, hospitality, anything along those lines, culinary, because of our tourist destination, that's another great reason to be here. We do appear to be very rural. However, we are just an hour and a half away from Montreal. We are just 10-15 minutes away from the major tourist areas. And we do offer vans that take students to all of these places on a regular basis. And so all of our students are required to live on campus. We are 100% residential for all 4 years, and that's necessary. It's necessary because we are in a high tourist area. There simply is not student rentals available here. You're not going to find apartment buildings. You're not going to find affordable housing for a student. And so it's important that they live on campus the entire time they're with us. But because of that, it makes our campus life really robust. But it means we also have a lot of partnerships with local movie theaters and bowling alleys and stores and pizza places that we bring students to. And so vans run throughout the day. We do trips to New York City, trips to Montreal. We work with students on picking them up at the airport because there really is no way to fly directly into here. They have to fly into larger cities, and we help arrange all of that because of our location. And faculty also arrange a lot of trips, and so especially culinary and business, they're often going into Canada. We'll work with international students to get a Canadian visa so they can go in and out of Canada as well, and take part in some of those trips. All right, we have a poll, Jim. Oh, you're on mute.
Yeah. So, yeah, so it's poll time. So let's hope that the technology doesn't dish us this time. So let's wait and see how is it. Has the poll? Yes. So this time the polls have come out. So let's see. The first question is that how many bachelor degree programs does Paul Smith's College offer? So let's see. Did Jodi tell? Was it 22? 24, 26, 28. So we're just starting to, we're waiting for the votes. Yes, it started coming. So that's cool. So the second one is, what is the campus size of Paul Smith's College? Of course, Jodi did mention that it is a huge campus. So let's see how many of you remember what is the size of the campus. Was it 5,000 acres, 8,000 acres, 10,000 acres? Or 14,000 acres. So we started getting a lot of answers. And the final question is, what are the percentage of graduates who get a job in their field of study or get into a graduate school within 6 months after the completion of their graduation? So let's see, we've got 4 options. We've got 80%, we've got 60%, we've got 96%, and we've got 100%. So let's see. Yes, we've got a good number of pollings going on, so we'll just wait for another 30 seconds. We're completing nearly 50% of the vote. So let's.
You're doing a great job. You're paying attention. You're awake.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. So we'll end the poll now with the percentage that's come in. So I'm just going to share the results and share the answers with you, and let's see how attentive our team was. Yeah. So yes, we've got the maximum number of right answers for the first one, 24 bachelor degree programs. That's cool. 35% of them have told the right answer. Of course, nearly 57% of them have told the correct size of the campus, 14,000 acres. And nearly 69% of them have told that 96% of the graduates either get a job in their field or pass out after 6 months of their graduation. So that's cool. So all of them are in a good hearing ways. So over to you, Jodi. You can proceed with the presentation.
Okay, so now we're going to get into what we all know. Everybody's here for, oh, we have one more video. Sorry, I thought we were gonna go over tuition. We're gonna do one quick video about athletics. It's quick, and then we'll get started. Athletics are an important component, important to a lot of our students. So I wanted to make sure you recognize we do offer athletics, although we do not offer athletic scholarships. So now let's get into what we're all here for, right? Admissions and scholarships. And so you can find us on the Common App and the Paul Smiths app. And as we talked about earlier, there's no application fee. And right now there's really no deadline. Students can continue to apply. We're taking a wait and see approach with what the State Department has to say about visas and whether international students are going to be able to get here for this fall. But at this point, we're encouraging the typical admissions process. We want to see their transcripts, a letter of recommendation, and an essay. The letter of recommendation and essay are optional, but they really do help quite a bit. And so I do encourage them. If I don't feel like a transcript is showing me the best side of the student or giving me enough information, then I will reach out to that student and request a letter of recommendation or an essay as well. With the essay, the topic is really up to them. I'm looking for 3 main things: their ability to express themselves in English, their grammatical correctness, and creativity. I'm looking for some personality. So I really don't want to pigeonhole them or give them a certain topic to write about. I want them to be able to express themselves. And so it's a very holistic application review process. We award scholarships at the time of admissions. And so you're going to see our scholarships to the side there. They're $9,000 to $14,000 a year. They're renewable. I do believe that for the following year, so not this incoming fall year, but for next year, we're going to increase all of them by $3,000. So those are going to go up a little bit for applicants applying for the following year, but not this upcoming 2020 year. And so when they get their acceptance letter, if you send me a completed application with everything I need, I can typically get a response out to you within the week and to the student with the decision. The decision letter is going to have their scholarship amount attached, so they know right away exactly what they're going to get. And then we go from there. They don't need to turn in all of the I-20 paperwork at the time of admissions. They can just apply, send in their transcripts, their letter of recommendation and essay, and then I will follow up and do the I-20 with them afterwards. We are continuing to issue I-20s right now. The State Department is allowing us to email a copy initially to the student so that they can make their visa appointment if they're able to. They're not able to in all countries right now. And then once we're able to mail it out, we'll mail it out once mail opens back up in their country. And so at this point, we're just still moving right on ahead with the I-20s and with the I-20 process. And here's our cost breakdown. And so you'll see our tuition, our housing and meals. That can vary a little bit depending on which dormitory they choose to live in. Freshman dorms are their first year dorms are very traditional. They have 1 to 2 roommates, they share a room, bathroom at the end of the hall. They learn how to live together, learn how to interact and get along. And then after that, we have a wide variety of dormitories that students can choose from, and they can choose their roommates. They can choose their dormitory. They can live in apartment style dorms, traditional style dorms, suite style, dorms with kitchens or without. And so that can change the price depending on what type of dormitory they choose. The meal plan is unlimited, so it's a same base price all the way across. Health insurance is estimated a little bit high. I think right now the international student health insurance is about $1,200. They have 2 different plans they can choose from. It is required though, so it's a little bit less than that. Our book cost is actually much lower than this. So those are not direct costs. We have one of the most affordable book buying plans in the entire US. Our students typically spend about an average of $100 to $150 on books per semester. Typically at most colleges, it's $500 to $1,000 per semester. And so we are really cost saving when it comes to that as well. So an estimate of the direct costs is we're about $45,000 a year. Of course, for the I-20, we have to show some additional amounts of indirect costs required by the government. So that's our I-20 cost as well. All right, I'm done, finally, right? So now it's time for questions. And I believe Jim's gonna share some questions with me.
Yes, so we already have a few questions. So the first one, what I would like to, the question is, they want a little more elaboration on what is the acceptance of pass-fail grades as one of your COVID response mentioned. So can you give us a little more elaboration on what exactly it is?
Yeah, so, we're going to accept the pass-fail grades. We are really going to concentrate more on the grades that they achieved before all of this happened. Because even if their school goes to pass-fail, if we're seeing failing grades, on this part of this semester, we are going to be very accepting of that because really school and being in school is the great equalizer, right? All the students are learning, they have the same access to everything. When they're home, they're not equal. And so we are going to accept the pass-fail grades. They'll get credit for the classes they passed. We are not holding failed classes against them. It just is not fair. So we're really going to look at the grades they achieved before all of this happened. And that's what we will be basing their scholarship on as well. And so we don't want students stressing about the progress this final semester. I hope that answers that. And as far as IB classes go, we're following the IBO guidelines on predicted grades, and whatever's reported from the school, we're going to accept.
The second question is, our attendee wants to know that is the accommodation that is being provided for an international student, will it be available for all the 4 years that the student is studying?
So is that housing?
Yeah, housing, yes.
Yeah. So housing, like we talked about, it's required all 4 years. So international students do have to live on campus. And then during breaks, so we don't offer summer classes. However, we do offer the opportunity for students who do want to stay in the United States. They can pay an additional amount to live on campus. But yeah, they have all of the same accommodations. We actually have more housing than we have students. I know a lot of colleges, it's the opposite. And that's why we don't have a housing deposit. We don't push students into committing to housing. They have to live on campus, so we're not going to collect a deposit on that, and they're going to have a wide variety of choices of where and how they want to live.
Yeah. The next question is, what is the minimum deposit, tuition deposit that is needed before a student starts the class?
Right, so the tuition deposit is $250, and that's what will commit them to the school. That's when we can start doing the enrollment process. So all of the paperwork and registering them for class. We do offer payment plans for students, and so the bills are typically due July 15th. I do think we'll be pushing that off. A decision hasn't been made yet. But you have until July 15th typically to set up a payment plan with our business office. Initially, they'll need some amount that's going to have to be paid before they arrive, but it really depends on whatever agreement you work out with the business office. And so when you set up that payment plan, you can do it monthly. You can set up a payment plan for quarterly or for each semester. You can split tuition. Whatever is going to work best financially for you, our business office will support.
Yeah, the final question is, if a student has completed a diploma program already in their existing country, will that be accepted, and what is the procedure? Could you just give a briefing?
Sure. So they would have to apply as a transfer student. And that means that their previous university transcript would have to go through a transcript evaluation service. So it will have to go through WES or ECE. The student will have to pay for that on their own, and then send us that. That will become the official transcript, the transcript evaluation from WES. We can then look at that. We'll look at the GPA that the transcript evaluation service has assigned, and that is how we will base the transfer scholarship amount. And then that is what we will use to determine which classes will transfer into Paul Smith's. So we do try to accept as many as possible. We're very transfer friendly, so that hopefully that student will not have to start their whole degree program over from the beginning, but can get credit for what they've already studied. And so they apply as a transfer student. So I hope that answers that question. I will say that in my experience, it can often be very difficult for a student who already has a bachelor's degree to get a visa to then study for another bachelor's degree. We most commonly see it with students who are completely changing their field of study. So say they were a business student and now they want to get a culinary degree. That tends to go over better than if they're a business student and then they're wanting to come in and be in our business school when they already have a business degree. So it depends on the country, but visas can be very difficult.
Sure. So it looks like we have answered most of the questions. So in case if we have missed any, you will be getting a reward from our team. So Jodi, is there anything else that you would like to mention?
I just want to say thank you. Thanks for your time and for being here. Stay safe and stay well wherever you are in the world. Please take my email down there. Reach out to me as you have questions. I'm here to support you in the work you're doing. So thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Jodi, for this wonderful presentation. Even I would love to come and study out there if I was a student. Yeah. So before we... Yeah, sure. So before we sign off, our second round of webinar for this same presentation will be aired on April 28th, 2020 at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. If any attendees joined us late or anyone would like to recommend your students, colleagues, or references, please feel free to share the registration link. We at MSM are super excited to introduce to you Agent eSummit 2020 Live, and would request all of you to follow us on our Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube platform to stay updated on our upcoming events. You can also visit our website, www.msquaremedia.com, to be updated on the upcoming events. So thank you for participating in today's webinar. We hope to see you again next time. Stay home, stay safe. Thank you.